Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm married to my husband Wes. We've been together since 2008 and married since 2019, and we both call Beach Church home. I broke my pelvis my senior year of high school. I was in a car accident. So from the get-go, we knew that it would be a little bit more difficult to get pregnant and stay pregnant just from the injuries that I sustained from that. We're so excited when we finally got pregnant. But pretty early into that pregnancy, I started to have a lot of pain. So about 6 weeks in, I went to the doctor, and at that point, they kind of walked me through preparing me to have a miscarriage. They said they couldn't see anything on the ultrasound, and kind of just prepared myself for what that would look like. At that point, I had an ectopic pregnancy where the baby was in the fallopian tube. So once I was in the emergency room, my fallopian tube had already ruptured. So they told me I needed to go to surgery right away. Then it got harder because I realized I had COVID. So they went from having an emergency surgery to then having to wait until all of the surgical cases of the day were finished so that they could safely have surgery on me and keep the other patients safe from infectious disease standpoint. So by the time I had gotten out of the OR and spoke with the surgeons, God just really gave me a shift in my perspective from mourning the loss of a baby to just being so thankful for my health and how God had taken care of me. Just thankful to be alive and had come out of surgery and began healing emotionally and physically from that point. So then a couple months later, after we had stopped trying to get pregnant and we're just focused on recovering and healing from that season that we were in, I found out that I was pregnant on Mother's Day. So it actually was a very exciting time. And then it kind of was brought back to a lot of pain when I started having more complications and bleeding. Had to go back to the OBGYN, and this time around it was like deja vu, where they couldn't see anything in the uterus. There was nothing on ultrasound. There was no heartbeat, and they prepared to walk me through another miscarriage. I started to just feel nauseous and kind of got my hopes up that maybe this nausea was related to a pregnancy, but my pregnancy hormones weren't doubling like they were supposed to, so I would keep calling the office and ask them to scan me again, and I think that they thought that I was a crazy person when they were telling me I was having a miscarriage, but I ended up in that 2-week difficult season of waiting. We had a worship night here at Beach, so I pulled myself together and went to worship. And it was a really beautiful message because Pastor Jerry shared that the word that was set on his heart was being expectant of what God would be doing in your life. So I was able to kind of flip all of that fear and worry into, okay, maybe if I'm expectant that God is carrying me through this, that maybe I actually could really be pregnant. So it was still very dark and waiting for answers and having to wait until they would agree to do another ultrasound on me. But at least I had a little bit more hope during that time frame. And when I did finally go get another ultrasound, it ended up being the best news ever because this time around they were able to see a heartbeat and see a baby developing in there and tell me that I did not, in fact, miscarry this time around and that the baby was viable. In the first miscarriage, I felt like I was experiencing a lot of physical pain, and then the second time around where I had to wait 2 weeks to know whether or not I was pregnant or having another miscarriage, it was a lot of mental strain where I wondered, if I was being punished, if God even wanted me to be a mother. And so I think just having to invite God into my both physical and mental pain so that he could be louder than those voices than the enemy was just really important, because although I was still suffering in both of those times, I knew that God hadn't left me, and I just felt like I was in a season of waiting multiple times, and just to know that God would carry me and sit with me in the middle of the waiting. God's picture for us is just so much bigger than that. It just takes a little bit of patience to understand his bigger plan. So now I am 29 weeks pregnant, and we are expecting a baby boy in the beginning of January.